Hi students, welcome to the science class. In last class, we discussed about under the chapter of microorganisms, friend and foe. What are microorganisms? What are the types of the microorganisms? What are the uses of the microorganisms? Isn't it? So now in this session, we are going to continue the part of that lesson, microorganisms, friend and foe. Yes, in last class we discussed some of the uses of the bacteria or microorganisms. It is nothing but in the use of the curd. Yes, in the use of the curd, which bacteria we can going to use? That is lactobacillus. The lactobacillus, one of the microorganism, that is a bacteria which we are going to use to convert to prepare a curd. Have you got understood? And also another one microorganism called yeast that will be used in preparation of the bread, isn't it? And also yeast it is used for the preparation of the alcohol, for the large amount of the alcohol. And also some of the bacteria are used in the preparation of medicines also. These are the some of the uses what we are studying in the last class. And today lesson we are going to study about what are vaccines, why we are going to use the vaccines, and also in this session we are going to study some harmful bacteria. In last session we only study about the uses of the bacteria, that is friend of the bacteria, that is the microorganisms which are useful to us. But in this session the harmful microorganisms we are going to study. So what are harmful microorganisms, what they can do, we are going to study in this session. So now it is vaccine. It is a vaccine, it is a familiar word in the nowadays. Why? Because all the countries in our world, they are struggling to research the vaccine for a very dangerous disease called a coronavirus disease, that is COVID-19 disease. So that is what is meant by vaccine. What is meant by vaccine? So now study what is meant by vaccines. See here, the vaccine first time discovered by a scientist called Edward Jenner in 1798 for smallpox. Edward Jenner first discovered a vaccine for a disease called smallpox in 1798. You have to remember this point. Then what is vaccine? Vaccine is a dead, weakened, disease-causing microbe injected into the body of animals. Injected into the body of animals or human beings. Animal's body has antibodies and they fight against them. Remember here, what is vaccine? Vaccine is a dead or a weakened disease-causing microbe. For example, you know already some of the bacteria or some of the microorganisms, they cause diseases. So we are going to, in the vaccination process, we are going to inject that disease-causing microbes. It is not a medicine, it is a disease-causing microbe, but the condition of that microbe is dead or weakened. Have you got understood? So once again see here, vaccine is a dead or a weakened disease-causing microbe injected into the body, and animal's body has antibodies and they fight against them. See, any foreign bodies, that is any microorganisms, any bacteria. Now we are in this case, in the vaccination case, we are going to inject a disease causing microbe, but the condition of the microbe is dead or weakened. Now we are going to inject that foreign material into our body, but our body has some soldiers. The capacity of our body, our animal body has the capacity to fight against the foreign materials injected into our body. See here, in this condition we are going to inject the weakened or a dead disease causing microbes. So when we are going to inject that disease causing microbes or weakened disease causing microbes into our body has the capacity to fight with that foreign materials, and that time our body fight with that foreign material, that this is causing microorganism, and that can remember that microorganism or that disease causing microorganism. Our body can remember that disease causing microbe, and in a future, so what happens here, how it is fights? Because that disease causing microbe, it is a dead, or it is a weakened. So our body is very strong, so that's why it is also disease causing microbe, but it is a very weak. That's why our body fights against that disease causing microbe and remember that foreign material or a disease causing microbe. Our body remember that. So when in future days the active disease causing microbes, the same active disease causing microbe enters to our body, in our body it is already know that it is a one type of foreign material and it enters one time in earlier days, and our body knows how to fight against that and foreign material. So when in future days an active disease causing microorganisms enters into our body recognize that disease causing microorganism and it recalls the activity what it is done in the earlier days, and it can be get active and fight against the active disease causing microorganism and control the diseases. Have you got understood? It is one of the very popular medicine process we are using, that is vaccination. Have got understood? Because for the some of the diseases we will not get good medicines, so we are going to use this process. What is vaccination? Once again, if you have remember here, vaccine is a dead or a weakened disease causing microbe injected into the body, and animal body has antibodies. They fight against them. That time body remembers how to fight against that type of microbe enters to the body in future. Have you got understood? So in the vaccination process we are going to inject a disease causing microbe into our body, but the condition here is the disease causing microbe, it will be a dead material or it will be a weakened. Have you got understood? So it doesn't affect our body. It doesn't affect our body, but our body has some antibodies. When we are going to inject that weakened or a dead disease causing microorganism into our body, our antibody activates and it will be going to act on that disease causing microbe. So in this case our antibodies are easily can be defeat that microorganism because it is a very weakened. So and that time our antibodies remembers what type of the microorganism it is, what type of the foreign material it is enters into our body, and it will be remembers that process in a future days. When the disease causing active microorganism enters into our body after vaccination in the future days, our body remembers, our body cells, antibody cells remembers. So what is that foreign material? When that foreign material enters into our body, suddenly the antibodies which are present in our body, which they are active at the time of vaccination process, they can be get activated and can be get fight with that foreign material, that is the disease causing microorganism, and that can be control the spread of, or that can be control the development of the disease. I got understood? It is one of the medicinal process we are using in these days, that is vaccination. That is nothing but a vaccine. Once again remember what is vaccine. Vaccine is a dead, weakened, disease causing microorganism which can be injected into the body, and the body has the capacity to fight with that microorganism, that is nothing but antibodies. We are injecting the weakened dead microorganism, that disease causing microorganism. Our antibodies are going to be fight with that vaccination process, and our antibodies are going to remember that foreign material called a microorganism or the disease causing bacteria. In future days, if the active disease causing bacteria will enter into our body, it will enter into our body, the antibodies which act at the time of vaccination get activated and fight against the disease causing bacteria and controls the development of the disease. That is nothing but, the process is nothing but vaccination. So that will be that is nothing but the vaccine. The disease causing microorganism or a dead weakened disease causing microorganism which we are going to inject, it is nothing but a vaccine. I got understood. This is known as a vaccination, or this is known as the vaccine. So one of the vaccine, for example, the one of the vaccine here is pulse polio. All of you are is vaccinated in your earlier days, in your childhood days. The vaccine called a polio, pulse polio. You have remember the government health department workers comes to your house and drops some drops in your mouth. That is nothing but a pulse polio. It is one of the vaccine. It is used for controlling the disease called polio. Have you got understood? It is one of the vaccine, pulse polio. Have you got understood? So next we are going to study about some of the bacteria used for plants also. How they are going to use for the plants? Remember, our earth surface contains more than 70% of the nitrogen. So that nitrogen will not be utilized by our plants. Our plants needs nitrogen. Why? Because in the process of photosynthesis, or in the process of their lifestyle, the plants need nitrogen, but plants doesn't has the capacity to absorb the nitrogen which is present in our environment. But how they are going to get? But they are going to get by the microorganisms. How they are going to get? So some of the microorganisms called cyanobacteria and rhizobium. The rhizobium will be present in the soil. That in the rhizobium bacteria present in the soil, it will be absorbs the nitrogen present in the environment. And also these bacteria, cyanobacteria and rhizobium, they are going to absorb the nitrogen present in the dead decaying materials. Some of them decaying materials present on the soil, that is the dead animal bodies or dead decayed plant leaves. In that leaves, so some of the nitrogen is present. That nitrogen will be absorbed by the cyanobacteria and rhizobium. That will be get supplied to the plants. So the nitrogen is the one of the most important material. That will be very useful for the plants to produce good amount of the products. Have you got understood? So in the process of nitrogen fixing, cyanobacteria and rhizobium, these are the most important bacteria or microorganisms useful. And another one is microorganisms are also useful to keep our environment clean. How? Because, so as you know already, when any dead material will falls on the soil surface, it will be decayed on some of days. If will keep that dead organism or a dead living body on a soil surface, it will be decayed. But how it will be decayed? By the help of these microorganisms. These microorganisms going to be decayed that dead organism and keep our environment clean. And also it converts that waste material into a good manure, and it will be useful for the plants. That's why in the process of conversion of dead materials or a waste material into a manure, the microorganisms are also useful. That is another one use of the microorganism. So until now we studied only the uses of the microorganisms, but some of the microorganisms are not only useful. If you have remembered that the most dangerous microorganisms are also there. They are very harmful to the human body and animal body and also the plants. So what are that microorganisms? What their causes? Let us study now under the harmful microorganisms. So some of the diseases caused by the microorganisms. Disease causing microorganisms are called a pathogen. So some of the bacteria which are present on the soil surface or which are present everywhere, they causes some diseases, and that disease causing microorganisms are called as a pathogens. The microorganisms which causes diseases are called as a pathogens. question arises, how the disease causing microorganisms enters to our body, enters to the animal body, or enters into the plant body. So the disease causing microorganisms called pathogens enter to our body by air we breathe, by water we drink, by food we take. They are enter into our body. Remember, some of the pathogens enter to our body by air we breathe, by water we drink, by food we eat, and also the pathogens enter into our body by the contact with the person which has affected by the pathogen, or which he has affected by the disease. In this case also the pathogens enter into our body, and they also get transmitted by a direct contact with the infected person. Infected person means the person which has a diseases. So these pathogens are also enter into our body by the means of contact with the infected person. So when these microorganisms, when these pathogens enter into our body, that pathogens causes some of the diseases. So here I am considering some of the diseases. Some of the diseases were infected to us in the many ways. Here one is a communicable diseases. What are communicable diseases? The microbial diseases that can spread from infectious person to a healthy person through air, water, food, physical contact are called communicable diseases. What are communicable diseases? The microbial diseases. The diseases which comes from the microbial diseases means the diseases which comes from the microorganisms are called microbial diseases. The microbial diseases that can be spread from an infected person to a healthy person through air, water, food, or a physical contact. They are known as a communicable diseases. What are communicable diseases? So what are communicable diseases here? The microbial diseases which can spread by air, by a water, by a food, and by an infected person to a healthy person. That diseases are called it as a communicable diseases. And what are the examples for the communicable diseases is cholera, common cold, chicken pox, etc. Remember, in your school sometimes your friend will be, if the friend will be affected by these diseases called cholera, common cold, chicken pox, the teacher suddenly give for him he sends him to his home. Why? Because that diseases will be spread to all the students. To avoid to spread of that disease, the teacher present in your class, they are going to send up him to your home, into his home. Why? Because these diseases are the communicable diseases. That's why teacher will send him to his home. Have you got understood? So what are communicable diseases here? The communicable diseases are nothing but the microbial diseases that can be transmitted by the contact. But the contact with the infected person, or by the air, or by the food, or by the water, or by the physical contact. These diseases are called communicable diseases. And also the diseases not only comes from the air, not only comes from the water, not only comes from the food, but the diseases also carried by the some organisms. That what are that are called as a carriers. Some of the diseases will be caused by the carriers. Disease caused by the carriers like a housefly. For example, remember the housefly, it is a small micro insect which is present in our home. That will be goes everywhere. When the housefly will stand on, if the person will be sneezing, if an infected person will be sneezing, the sneeze has some viruses. When he was sneezing, that viruses will be fall on the earth's surface. The housefly will going to stand on that sneezing, and the legs of the housefly attached to that virus, and that virus are attached to the housefly. Then it will be goes towards the food, where the food will be open, where the food will be put open, in that area the housefly going to stand on that food. When we are going to eat that food, the virus which is present in the legs of the housefly will enters into our body and causes diseases. One of the disease carrier, it is called as a housefly. So we are not going to eat any food which is kept in an open area. Why? Because, and your parents are also said to you, don't eat the food which is kept in outside, because these types of diseases will be caused. Why? Because the houseflies are going to carry some disease causing microorganisms which are present on the earth's surface. The houseflies are goes everywhere, and that carries the disease causing viruses in their legs, and when they are going to sit on the food particles which they are kept free openly, that viruses will be transmitted on the food, and when we are going to eat that food, that virus will be injected to our body, that virus will be goes into our body and causes the diseases. That's why don't eat the food which are kept freely or openly. I got understood. So next one is another one disease carrier here is female Anopheles mosquito, and female Anopheles mosquito carries a parasite of malaria. The parasite of malaria, it is nothing but a plasmodium. Remember, female Anopheles mosquito, in your examination 1 marks question should be asked on this. The which carrier causes the malaria diseases? It is nothing but a female Anopheles mosquito. You have to remember, female Anopheles mosquito carries the parasite of malaria, and it causes the disease called malaria. And another one is female Aedes mosquito. It is also acts as the carrier of dengue virus. So another one important question arises here. Which carrier causes a dengue virus or a dengue disease? That is the dengue disease caused by the female Aedes mosquito. I got understood. It is also another one important thing here. And so how we are going to control this? The disease comes from the carrier. So here the carriers are nothing but houseflies, mosquitoes, some of the insects. So some of these insects commonly they are grow in a water. The wastewater which is present outside our home, or in the pot, or in the tire. So how we are going to prevent these diseases? But here is the one solution is there. We are going to keep our around very clean and dry. If we keep our surrounding clean and dry, the mosquitoes are not going to multiply his generation. That is, they are not going to multiply. If the mosquitoes are not going to multiply, then the diseases are also controlled. So by keeping surrounding clean and dry, we can prevent mosquitoes from breeding. So the one of the most severe thing for the breeding of mosquitoes is nothing but the water. If we not provide the water for the breeding of mosquitoes, so there is no mosquitoes. So to control the mosquitoes, we should keep our surrounding clean and dry. If we control this, our surrounding clean and dry, there is no mosquitoes, and where there is no mosquitoes, there is no diseases. I got understood. It is about the disease, the carriers which causes the diseases. So now we see some of the human diseases which are caused by microorganisms. Now I am considering here, first one is a TB, that is a tuberculosis. The tuberculosis which is caused by a bacteria. Here is one table I am given here. In this table I am going to give you some of the diseases which are caused by the microorganisms. The TB which is caused by the microorganism called bacteria. The TB means tuberculosis. And the mode of transmission, how it is going to be spread? Mode of transmission, it is going to be by the air. So what are the preventions here? How we are going to prevent the mode of transmission here, or the mode of spreading of this tuberculosis disease by the preventions called vaccination. By vaccination, so you are already know what is vaccine, how we are going to take vaccination. And second one is by isolation. What is isolation? Isolation, it is nothing but we are going to keep the person, infected person, away from the healthy person. We are not going to meet, or we are not going to get in contact with the infected person. Have you got understood? If we are going to keep him as possible as private. So next, third one is another one is the quarantine. The quarantine, the word will be already familiar to you. Why? Because due to the coronavirus. These are the main preventions methods we are going to use for all 5 diseases. That is TB, that called as a tuberculosis. Second one is the measles. Measles, it is also called by the microorganism called a virus, and also it will be transmitted through the air. And what are the prevention steps? Once again, vaccination, isolation, and quarantine. And another one is here chickenpox. Chickenpox, it is one of the disease caused by the microorganism virus. And how it will be transmitted? It will be transmitted by the air or by the contact with the infected person. And the prevention is again vaccination, isolation, and by the quarantine. And another one is polio. Polio, it is also caused by the virus, and the mode of transmission here is it is transmitted through the air and water. Again, prevention steps are vaccination, isolation, and quarantine. Another one is COVID-19, that is, it is also called by a coronavirus, that is virus. How it will be transmitted? It will be transmitted through the air and also by the contact of that infected person. So what are the preventions here? By the vaccination, we are not having still a good vaccine here, and isolation and quarantine are nothing but the same here. We are going to keep him in a quarantine. Quarantine means we are going to keep the infected person in a private place. We are not going to get contact with that person in the infected time, and we are providing tablets related to control that disease. We are going to give some calcium tablets or vitamin tablets, and also we are going to advise him to drink boiled water and take a good food. Okay, so these are the preventions to prevent the diseases called tuberculosis, measles, chickenpox, polio, and COVID-19 here. Here TB, it is only the tuberculosis is one of the only the bacterial disease, but all are these viral diseases. Next I am going to consider another one disease here, cholera. Cholera, it is caused by a bacteria, and how it can be get transmitted? It can be get transmitted by the water and the food. So how we are going to prevent the disease? By personal hygiene. Personal hygiene means we are going to keep clean always when we are going to eat or when we are going to drink. Before eating or before drinking, we should wash our hands cleanly with the soaps, so maintaining personal hygiene. And also properly cooked food, we are going to take the properly cooked food. Have you got understood? By maintaining these preventions, we can prevent the diseases called cholera. And another one is a typhoid. It is also caused by a bacteria, and the mode of transmission of this disease also by the water. It will be by the water, it will be transmitted. So how we are going to control? Again, we are going to control by personal hygiene and taking the properly cooked food, and also it is caused by the water, so we are going to take boiled water as much as possible. Next, hepatitis A. This hepatitis A disease will be caused by again a virus, and also it is transmitted by the water. So what are the prevention steps here? We should drink always boiled water. So always doctor will be suggest you to drink boiled water. Why? Because the water contains large amount of viruses. Have you got understood? If you once you boil the water, all the viruses will be deactivated, so it doesn't causes any diseases. So the preventions for the disease hepatitis A is nothing but drinking boiled water and vaccination, taking the vaccine. And the last disease of human disease I am discussing here is malaria. It will be caused by the microorganism called protozoa, and it will be get transmitted by the mosquitoes. So it is the one of the disease which will be get transmitted through the mosquitoes. So what are the prevention steps we are going to take here? We should use mosquito nets when we are going to sleep. So a large amount of the large amount of the mosquitoes will be bite at the time of when we are going to sleep. So when we are going to sleep, we should use mosquito nets, and also insecticides and repellents we are going to use. For example, good night coils. So we should use that. As much as possible, don't use large amount of good night coils because it contains some of the chemicals which may cause some diseases or some harmful effects to our body. As possible we use mosquito net when we are going to use to sleep. Have got understood? So by taking these preventions, we can prevent the spread of these diseases, that is tuberculosis, measles, chickenpox, polio, COVID-19, cholera, typhoid, hepatitis A and malaria. Remember all these diseases in your examination. The 1 or 2 marks question should be asked on this: which microorganism causes which disease and what are the prevention steps. All comes under one similar table. So in the next class we are going to study about the plant diseases, the microorganisms which causes the plant diseases. So thank you.